On November 8, 1942, at Sidi Farouk Beach in Algeria, the inaugural contingent of American foot soldiers disembarked in North Africa. They bore a weapon destined to revolutionize conflict, though its proficient operation was largely beyond their immediate grasp. Amongst classified equipment containers, there were 5,000 M1 rocket launchers, soon to be universally recognized as bazookas. In less than 18 months, this straightforward tube, costing $25 to manufacture, would compel a complete overhaul of German armored strategies and provoke desperate efforts to replicate American ingenuity. The arithmetic of mechanized combat was poised for a rewrite, not through formidable anti-armor cannons or intricate engineering, but via a steel cylinder that any common infantryman could wield after a modicum of instruction. The bazooka would transform American GIs from vulnerable targets into formidable tank eliminators, bestowing upon each squad the capacity to neutralize the enemy's most dreaded instruments of war. This profound shift commenced at Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland on May 6, 1942. Colonel Leslie Skinner and Lieutenant Edward Ohl were present for a showcase of various anti-tank armaments. Their own launcher was, quite literally, pieced together that very morning from available materials on site. According to the official chronicles of Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Ohl had stumbled upon a steel tube in a scrap heap, its diameter coincidentally suitable. The aiming sights were fashioned from a wire coat hanger, bent with the aid of pliers. Army Ordnance had previously arranged tests for British-designed spigot mortars, elaborate contraptions weighing over 100 pounds, each requiring a dedicated, trained crew. The assembled brass, including Major General Gladian Barnes, the Chief of Research and Engineering, initially gave scant attention to Ohl's rudimentary tube. The demonstration, however, proved to be a turning point. 5 distinct spigot mortars were unleashed against a moving M3 Stuart tank from a distance of 150 yards. Not a single projectile found its mark. The crews grappled with complex aiming mechanisms, and the unwieldy weapons proved difficult to maneuver swiftly. It was then that Ohl stepped forward. Recounted in his own words, preserved within Army Ordnance records, "I donned a welder's mask for that initial firing, anticipating potentially hazardous backfire. There was none. I placed the tube upon my shoulder, aligned those coat hanger sights, and depressed the trigger. The projectile whooshed forward and struck the tank's flank with immediate impact. I then reloaded in 5 seconds and hit it again." General Barnes, after examining the device, is reported to have exclaimed, "It resembles Bob Burns's Bazooka," referencing the radio personality's homemade musical instrument. Within minutes, Barnes issued an order for 5,000 units, prioritizing immediate production. General Electric's manufacturing facilities were slated to commence production within weeks. By October of 1942, General Electric and its associated contractors were churning out 5,000 bazookas per month. This pace was unprecedented, transitioning from an improvised concept to mass manufacturing in a mere 5 months. Each M1 rocket launcher necessitated only 20 pounds of steel, basic welding, and simple electrical components, aggregating a production cost of $25. The accompanying M6 rockets themselves cost $8 each to produce. The weapon specifications were remarkably unpretentious: a seamless steel tube, 54 inches in length, with a diameter of 2.36 inches, weighing 13 pounds. 2 dry cell batteries housed within the shoulder stock provided the electrical impulse for ignition. The rocket was inserted from the rear. A wire connection was made, and upon firing, it could pierce 3 to 4 inches of armor at a range of 300 yards. Captain Franklin Johnson, a training officer at Fort Benning, documented in his official report, "We could equip a soldier to effectively operate the bazooka within a single afternoon. The same individual would require weeks to master a 37mm anti-tank gun. More crucially, a pair of soldiers armed with a bazooka could traverse any terrain accessible to infantry." Operation Torch, the Allied amphibious assault on North Africa, commenced on November 8, 1942. Among the 107,000 American and British combatants were elements of the 1st Infantry Division, the 1st Armored Division, and the 509th Parachute Infantry Regiment, all equipped with the inaugural bazookas intended for combat deployment. The weapon's baptism of fire was nearly a disaster. As historians Michael and Gladys Green have chronicled, General Eisenhower discovered the evening preceding the invasion that the troops had received absolutely no instruction on the novel weaponry. The bazookas had arrived sealed in crates marked "secret," with directives to remain unopened until the operation was underway. No instructional materials were provided. According to the 1st Infantry Division's post-operation assessment, soldiers were compelled to decipher the weapon's operation while under enemy fire. Many of the early M6 rockets, compromised by moisture during their oceanic transit, either failed to discharge or detonated prematurely. The 509th Parachute Infantry Regiment reported that out of their initial 20 rockets launched in combat, a mere 7 functioned as intended. Notwithstanding these significant impediments, certain units managed to achieve positive outcomes. The combat log of the 1st Armored Division for November 10, 1942, details an anti-tank team's successful engagement, destroying 2 Vichy French Renault tanks near Port Lyoty with the new rocket weapon. The report concluded, "Weapon effective when functioning properly." The German capture of American bazookas transpired during the intense fighting at the Battle of Kasserine Pass from February 14th to the 24th, 1943. Elements of the Afrika Korps' 10th and 21st Panzer Divisions overran American positions near the town of Gafsa. They seized considerable quantities of materiel from the withdrawing American 2nd Corps. According to German military archives, 5 complete M1 bazookas and approximately 20 M6 rockets were immediately dispatched to Berlin for thorough examination. The Wehrmacht weapons testing facility at Kummersdorf received these armaments on February 28, 1943. German technical assessments from March 1943, currently housed within the Bundesarchiv, reveal their conclusions. The American rocket launcher represents a straightforward solution for infantry anti-tank capabilities. Its weight is 6 kilograms. Manufacturing prerequisites are minimal. Effectiveness, it penetrates 80 millimeters of armor at 100 meters. This weapon can be produced en masse utilizing basic industrial infrastructure. The Germans promptly initiated development of their own variant, augmenting the warhead's diameter from 60 millimeters to 88 millimeters. By September 1943, the Raketenpanzerbüchse 43 Panzerfaust entered production. German manufacturing records indicate the construction of 289,151 Panzerfausts throughout the war. While an impressive figure, it still fell considerably short of American output. Operation Husky, the Allied invasion of Sicily commencing on July 10, 1943, signified the bazooka's maturation as a combat system. American forces were now deploying the enhanced M1A1 model, featuring improved electrical connections and the more dependable M6A1 rocket. The most noteworthy bazooka success in Sicily occurred near Biscari in July 1943. According to reports from United States Army Ordnance observers, an M1A1 bazooka team belonging to the 82nd Airborne Division achieved a remarkable strike against a Tiger White's tank, its projectile penetrating through the driver's vision slit, one of the vehicle's few vulnerable areas. While this incident represented exceptional marksmanship rather than typical battlefield performance, it undeniably showcased the weapon's latent potential. The War Diary of the Hermann Göring Panzer Division for July 11, 1943, noted, "Enemy infantry equipped with rocket weapons, capable of destroying armor at 100 to 150 meters. Tank commanders must exercise heightened vigilance in built-up areas." Colonel James Gavin, commanding the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment, reported, "The bazooka has instilled confidence in American infantrymen when confronting enemy armor. In Sicily, we eliminated 17 German tanks using bazookas. The psychological impact surpasses even the physical destruction achieved." During the Italian campaign, which began in September 1943, the bazooka transitioned from a dedicated anti-tank weapon to a versatile problem solver. The mountainous terrain and ancient towns provided ideal scenarios for its deployment. The December 1943 battle for Ortona exemplified the weapon's adaptability. According to Canadian military records, bazooka teams devised mouse-hauling tactics, creating pathways through buildings rather than risking the perilous streets. The War Diary of the 1st Canadian Infantry Division recorded, "American rocket launchers proved invaluable in urban combat, employed against fortified dwellings with considerable success. By January 1944, American production had escalated to 20,000 bazookas monthly. The M9 model had been introduced, featuring a disassemblable design suitable for airborne troops and a magneto-ignition system that obviated the need for batteries. The M6A3 rocket, with its blunt nose, prevented ricochets off angled armor surfaces. Fifth Army reports from the Italian campaign documented that every infantry battalion now possessed between 24 and 36 bazookas. The weapon had become standard issue, as ubiquitous as machine guns. The widespread proliferation of bazookas necessitated fundamental alterations in German armor doctrine. The Wehrmacht Training Directive 43/18, issued in December 1943, mandated that tanks will not operate in urban zones without infantry escort. All structures must be secured prior to armor advancement. A minimum distance of 100 meters must be maintained from uncleared edifices. Shirts and side skirts must be kept on all vehicles. German tank crews began affixing additional track links, sandbags, and concrete to their vehicles for enhanced protection. The Zimmerit anti-magnetic paste, applied from December 1943 to October 1944, was partly a defensive measure against shaped charge threats. A captured document from the 2nd SS Panzer Division, dated March 1944, stated, "American rocket launchers are present in every infantry unit. Speed and shock tactics are no longer viable. A methodical advance with infantry screening is required." By D-Day, June 6, 1944, the bazooka had become an intrinsic component of American infantry organization. Among the 156,000 Allied troops landing in Normandy were thousands of bazooka teams, equipped with the latest M9A1 model, now featuring an optical sight. The bocage country of Normandy, characterized by dense hedgerows creating natural defensive emplacements, proved exceptionally conducive to bazooka deployment. First Army records indicate that within the 6 weeks following D-Day, bazookas were responsible for 12% of German armored vehicle losses in the American sector. The 29th Infantry Division's after-action report for June and July 1944 noted that bazooka teams operating within the hedgerow terrain achieved high success rates against enemy armor, leading to German tanks becoming increasingly hesitant to advance without extensive infantry reconnaissance. German production records illuminate the industrial realities behind their response to the bazooka. The Panzerfaust, while technically superior with its 88mm warhead, capable of penetrating 160mm of armor compared to the bazooka's 100mm, was considerably more complex to manufacture. A production comparison drawn from German and American archives reveals Panzerfaust required 24.18 man-hours to produce and cost 150 Reichsmarks. The Bazooka M9, however, demanded only 152.4 man-hours and cost $25. By August 1944, America had produced over 400,000 bazookas. Germany, over the entire course of the war, managed to produce 289,151 Panzerfausts. The Americans were outproducing German imitations by a ratio of nearly 2 to 1, while simultaneously manufacturing simpler, more portable weaponry. The German Ardennes offensive in December 1944 subjected the bazooka to rigorous testing under winter conditions. Combat interviews with the 99th Infantry Division, conducted immediately after the engagement, documented numerous bazooka engagements. Technical Sergeant Donald Bracken of the 394th Infantry Regiment reported the destruction of a Panther tank near Rocherath on December 17, 1944. The rocket struck the rear engine deck, the tank erupted in flames, and the crew bailed out. The range was approximately 75 yards. The extreme cold introduced documented challenges. Battery failures in the remaining M1. A1 models still in service necessitated soldiers warming batteries inside their jackets. The 2nd Infantry Division reported that rocket propellant burned differently in sub-zero temperatures, adversely affecting both range and accuracy. Despite these considerable obstacles, records from the 18th Airborne Corps show that bazookas destroyed or disabled 89 German armored vehicles during the Battle of the Bulge. One of the most extraordinary instances of bazooka utilization came from Major Charles Carpenter of the 4th Armored Division. As detailed in his Silver Star citation and corroborated by multiple witnesses, Carpenter ingeniously mounted 6 M9 bazookas onto his L-4 Grasshopper observation aircraft. His combat record, verified by 4th Armored Division documentation, includes the following. September 20th, 1944. 2 Panther tanks destroyed near Aracourt. October 1944. 1 Panzer IV destroyed. November 1944. 3 armored vehicles annihilated. Carpenter's aircraft, complete with the mounting apparatus for the bazookas, was discovered in an Austrian museum in 2017 and has since been restored. His innovative application demonstrated the weapon's versatility beyond conventional infantry roles. Final production statistics from United States Army Ordnance records indicate bazooka production M1, 112,790 units, M1A1, approximately 60,000 units, M9, 26,087 units, M9, A1, approximately 277,800 units, M18 aluminum, 500 units, total 476,628 units. Rocket production, 1942, 2,112,000. 1943, 2,847,000. 1944, 8,566,000. 1945, 4,650,000. Total, 15,663,000. Unit costs in 1945, $1 per $9, bazooka, $19 to $25. M6A3 rocket, $8.85. A complete system, comprising launcher and 10 rockets, cost approximately $110. For comparative purposes, according to German production records, Panzer IV tank, 103,000 Reichsmarks, approximately $41,000. Panther tank, 117,000 Reichsmarks, approximately $47,000. Tiger, Archer tank, 250,000 Reichsmarks, approximately $100,000. The U.S. Army Ordnance conducted extensive analyses of bazooka effectiveness in 1945. Their findings revealed average engagement range, 75 yards, hit probability at 50 yards, 85%, hit probability at 100 yards, 42%, hit probability at 150 yards, 18%, armor penetration, 3.5 to 4 inches, 89 to 102 millimeters, with the M6A3 rocket. Tank destruction analysis from the European theater based on 1st Army records. Tanks destroyed by other tanks, 38%. Tanks destroyed by anti-tank guns, 31%. Tanks destroyed by aircraft, 14%. Tanks destroyed by bazookas, 12%. Tanks destroyed by mines, 5%. These statistics likely underestimate the bazooka's actual effectiveness, as numerous German tanks were abandoned when threatened by rocket teams, rather than being outright destroyed. Post-war interrogations of German officers, conducted by the U.S. Strategic Bombing Survey, yielded consistent themes regarding the bazooka's profound impact. While specific documentary citations in these interrogation summaries are often generalized, the prevailing pattern is undeniable. Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, the German commander in Italy, stated during his interrogation that American rocket launchers necessitated fundamental reconfigurations in German tactical doctrine. The speed and shock tactics that had secured victories in 1940 to 1941 were nullified by the pervasive threat posed by infantry anti-tank weaponry. General Heinz Guderian, in his post-war writings, acknowledged that the widespread proliferation of infantry anti-tank armaments, such as the bazooka, rendered the independent operation of armor, a cornerstone of German doctrine, obsolete. The bazooka threat significantly influenced German tank development from 1943 onward. German armored vehicle production records illustrate the addition of Schutzen and side skirts to Panzer III/IV models commencing in April 1943, the application of Zimmerit paste from September 1943, and increased side armor on the Panther AOSF G model, alongside the development of infantry support variants with enhanced anti-personnel armaments. These modifications imposed additional weight and complexity upon German vehicles, diminishing their inherent mobility advantage, while American tanks remained comparatively uncomplicated and dependable. Lend-Lease records document the distribution of bazookas to Allied forces: Soviet Union, 8,000 units; United Kingdom, 12,000 units; Free French forces, 15,000 units; Chinese nationalist forces, 3,000 units; other Allied nations, 23,628 units. Soviet military archives indicate that the Red Army found the bazooka to be an effective weapon, yet they favored their own anti-tank rifles and, subsequently, the RPG-2, which was developed in part using bazooka principles. Although less prominently publicized than its European deployments, bazookas proved their worth in the Pacific theater. Marine Corps records from Saipan, covering June through July 1944, show bazookas responsible for the destruction of 28 Japanese tanks and countless fortified positions. The weapon's versatility was further underscored by the array of rocket types employed: the M6A3 standard anti-tank HEAT round, the M10 white phosphorus incendiary/smoke round, and the M7E3 practice round. Marine units particularly valued the white phosphorus rockets for their efficacy in clearing cave networks and obliterating Japanese bunkers. On Iwo Jima, the 5th Marine Division expended 1,847 bazooka rockets during 6 weeks of intense combat. The bazooka's enduring relevance was reaffirmed during the Korean War. Initial M9A1. Bazookas proved insufficient against T-34-85 tanks due to degraded ammunition. However, the rapid development and deployment of the M20 Super Bazooka, featuring a 3.5-inch rocket, demonstrated the weapon system's inherent adaptability. Marine Sergeant Robert Bennett's combat report from Busan in September 1950 stated, "The new 3.5-inch bazookas stopped T-34s cold. First shot, first kill at 125 yards. The psychological impact was immediate. This swift adaptation, transitioning from problem identification to deployment of a solution in under 90 days, exemplified the inherent flexibility of the simple bazooka design. The bazooka embodied the American industrial philosophy prevalent during World War II. An analysis of its manufacturing methods reveals an inherent simplicity. Any factory equipped with basic welding apparatus could produce the tubes. No specialized alloys or intricate precision machining were required. Assembly time averaged 2.4 man-hours per unit. Training time for assembly workers was a mere 2 days. Distribution efficiency was equally remarkable. By 1944, every U.S. infantry company was equipped with 5 bazookas, and every infantry battalion possessed 25 to 35 bazookas. Ammunition was readily accessible through standard supply chains. This starkly contrasted with German production philosophy, which prioritized technical superiority over sheer quantity. The Wehrmacht's focus on complex, high-performance armaments resulted in limited production capacity and significant challenges in field maintenance. U.S. Army training records document the bazooka's transformative influence on infantry doctrine. Pre-bazooka in 1941, infantry anti-tank training primarily revolved around anti-tank rifles, which were largely ineffective against medium tanks, anti-tank grenades demanding suicidal close-range assaults, and Molotov cocktails as desperate measures. Post-bazooka, from 1943 to 1945, every infantry soldier received basic bazooka operation training in a 2-hour course. Tank hunting tactics and coordinated anti-tank defense became integral. The psychological transformation was clearly documented in infantry school reports. The bazooka has instilled confidence in the infantry soldier when facing armor. Previous tank-induced panic has been supplanted by aggressive tank hunting. Combat units developed innovative bazooka tactics, meticulously documented in after-action reports. Urban combat from the 3rd Infantry Division in Italy involved 2-man teams operating from upper floors, targeting tank vision blocks and turret rings, and employing mouse hauling through buildings. Bocage fighting, as reported by the 29th Infantry Division in Normandy, utilized concealed positions in hedgerows to target side and rear armor, coordinating multi-team ambushes. Winter warfare, experienced by the 99th Infantry Division, saw soldiers warming rockets inside their clothing and employing snow camouflage for their approach, targeting engine compartments for incendiary destruction. A cost-effectiveness analysis conducted by Army Ordnance revealed a staggering disparity. To destroy a single German tank using tanks, an average of 2.5 Shermans were lost per German tank destroyed, representing approximately $187,500 in tank losses. Employing anti-tank guns incurred costs of approximately $45,000, encompassing gun and crew training. Using aircraft, including aircraft losses and munitions, approximated $85,000. By contrast, using bazookas, which typically involved an average of 5 rockets and the occasional launcher loss, the cost was approximately $50. This astronomical cost advantage rendered the bazooka economically revolutionary. For the equivalent cost of one Sherman tank, $75,000, the Army could procure 3,000 bazookas and 20,000 rockets. The fundamental principle of the bazooka, simple, man-portable anti-tank weaponry, became universally integrated into military doctrine. Its direct descendants include the M72 LA light anti-tank weapon, the AT-4 anti-tank weapon, the Carl Gustaf recoilless rifle, and the Soviet RPG series. Over 40 nations have produced bazooka variants or outright copies. The core concept of equipping infantry with portable anti-tank capability remains a central tenet of military organization worldwide. The German Tank Museum at Munster features a permanent exhibit on anti-tank weaponry, prominently displaying the American bazooka. Their official placard states, "The American M1 rocket launcher, the bazooka, revolutionized anti-tank warfare. Simple, inexpensive, and effective. It could be operated by any soldier with minimal training." German forces captured examples in Tunisia in 1943 and immediately recognized its potential, subsequently developing the Panzerfaust in response. By the cessation of hostilities, the ubiquitous presence of bazookas across all American military formations effectively negated Germany's armored supremacy. The bazooka underwent perpetual refinement, incorporating battlefield feedback. The initial iteration, designated M1, was introduced in June of 1942, featuring battery ignition. This was followed by the M1A1 in June of 1943, which incorporated improvements to the battery ignition system. Subsequent upgrades included a reinforced tube and enhanced electrical contacts, leading to the production of approximately 60,000 M9 units by October of 1943. The M9 featured a two-piece design and magneto ignition, with 26,087 units manufactured. The M9A1 variant, introduced in June of 1944, boasted an optical sight and improved coupling, with approximately 277,800 units produced. The M18, a further iteration employing aluminum construction, saw 500 units produced prior to the war's conclusion. Concurrent with the evolution of the launcher itself, rocket development also progressed. The M6 rocket, characterized by its pointed nose, could achieve 3 inches of penetration. The M6A3, featuring a blunt nose to prevent deflection, offered 4 inches of penetration. The M10 utilized a white phosphorus warhead, while the M7A3 served as a practice round. A comprehensive 1962 study by the U.S. Army Military History Institute concluded that no single armament had a more profound impact on the dynamics of the battlefield than the rocket launcher or bazooka. It democratized anti-tank warfare, equipping every infantry unit with the capacity to neutralize armored vehicles. Germany's subsequent development of their own rocket-propelled weaponry in response served as a testament to the concept's efficacy. In terms of cost-effectiveness, tactical significance, and strategic importance, the bazooka stands as one of the most crucial armaments of the Second World War. An examination of German operational records clearly illustrates the bazooka's strategic effect. Prior to the bazooka's widespread deployment, from 1940 to 1942, German armored units operated with considerable autonomy and confidence. Infantry units frequently retreated before advancing tanks, and breakthrough and exploitation tactics proved highly successful. Armor, however, required consistent infantry support, transforming every structure and hedgerow into a potential ambush site. This resulted in breakthrough operations becoming both costly and protracted. This operational paradigm shift, meticulously documented in Wehrmacht war diaries, fundamentally reshaped the European battlefield. The production of the bazooka represented a zenith of American industrial capability. In March of 1945 alone, 42,000 launchers were manufactured, alongside 540,000 rockets. This undertaking involved 237 subcontractors and spanned 34 states, demonstrating a robust and resilient supply chain. Unlike German production, which was concentrated in vulnerable facilities, this decentralized model rendered the bazooka supply chain impervious to significant disruption from bombing raids or sabotage. The bazooka's inherent simplicity facilitated its extensive adoption. Training records indicate that the average soldier achieved basic proficiency within 2 hours, with combat effectiveness typically attained after 5 practice rounds. Unlike anti-tank rifles, it imposed no extraordinary physical demands, enabling its effective use by soldiers from all walks of life. This democratization of anti-tank capability meant that any infantry squad could effectively engage armored threats, thereby fundamentally altering battlefield dynamics. A comparison with contemporary anti-tank weaponry highlights the bazooka's distinct advantages. The British PIAT, weighing 32 pounds, was significantly heavier than the bazooka's 15 pounds. Its range of 100 yards paled in comparison to the bazooka's 300 yards. Furthermore, the PIAT suffered from reliability issues in wet conditions, and its complex spring mechanism required considerable strength to operate. The Soviet PTRD anti-tank rifle weighed 38 pounds and had limited effectiveness against medium tanks. Its severe recoil necessitated robust soldiers, and its single-shot nature demanded exceptional marksmanship. The German Panzerfaust, a single-use disposable weapon, possessed a very short effective range of 30 to 60 meters. It lacked any sighting system and posed a hazard due to its dangerous backblast area. In contrast, the bazooka offered the optimal balance of portability, effectiveness, range, and reusability. The bazooka's strategic influence extended beyond its tactical deployment, enabling the formation of lighter, more mobile infantry divisions. Logistics were simplified, with ammunition supply being far less complex than that for anti-tank guns. Training was streamlined, allowing for the rapid conversion of civilians into effective tank hunters. Psychologically, it transformed infantrymen from potential targets into active aggressors. Economically, it presented a substantial cost advantage over traditional anti-tank armaments. These combined factors endowed American forces with a decisive edge in combined arms operations. The bazooka's success stemmed from its straightforward design rather than intricate sophistication. While Germany pursued technically superior weaponry, America's capacity for mass production and widespread distribution of sufficiently effective technology proved paramount. By the war's end, virtually every American infantry squad possessed the capability to combat tanks. This dispersal of firepower to the lowest tactical echelon epitomized American military doctrine, entrusting the citizen soldier with potent weaponry and the necessary training for its effective employment. Germany had entered the Second World War possessing the world's most formidable armored forces, their tanks dominating battlefields from Poland to France. Their eventual defeat was partly attributable to American teenagers armed with steel tubes that cost less than a bicycle. The bazooka demonstrated that, in the context of modern industrial warfare, the ability to mass produce and widely distribute simple, effective weapons could triumph over technical superiority. It proved that innovation did not necessitate complexity. Sometimes the most effective solution was the simplest one that could be manufactured in vast quantities. The bazooka's progression from Edward Uhl's rudimentary tube with coat hanger sights to a weapon instrumental in the defeat of Nazi Germany exemplifies American industrial democracy at its finest. In a mere 3 years, from May of 1942 to May of 1945, American factories produced 476,628 bazookas and over 15 million rockets, fundamentally transforming the nature of ground combat. The weapon's impact was both tangible and psychological. Physically, it empowered infantry units with the ability to destroy tanks at practical engagement distances. Psychologically, it shifted soldiers' roles from potential victims to active hunters. German armored forces, which had revolutionized warfare with their blitzkrieg tactics, found their advance significantly impeded by the threat posed by rocket teams concealed within every building, hedgerow, and pile of rubble. The bazooka's triumph was rooted in its practical simplicity, not its technical sophistication. It could be manufactured rapidly, distributed widely, and operated effectively by any soldier with minimal training. This confluence of simplicity, efficacy, and mass production embodied the American approach to warfare, overwhelming the adversary through industrial might rather than sole reliance on tactical brilliance. Today, every military force worldwide equips its infantry with portable anti-tank armaments, direct inheritors of the bazooka principle. The fundamental concept of empowering the individual soldier to neutralize armored vehicles remains as pertinent now as it was when Lieutenant Edward Uhl discharged the first rocket from his improvised launcher at Ardine Proving Ground in 1942. The bazooka was more than a mere weapon. It was democracy materialized in steel and explosives. It validated the premise that free workers in American factories could produce simple armaments in such quantities as to overcome the output of German engineering. It affirmed America's faith in the citizen soldier, entrusting ordinary individuals with extraordinary firepower. The Germans were taken aback to discover that their vaunted armored divisions could be halted by a simple tube costing less than a week's wages for a factory worker. However, this astonishment revealed a fundamental truth about modern warfare. In an industrial conflict, the nation capable of producing the greatest quantity of weapons and distributing them most extensively will prevail over a nation that produces superior weapons in limited numbers. The bazooka, as inscribed at the former U.S. Army Ordnance Museum, served as irrefutable evidence that American ingenuity and mass production could triumph over complexity and skilled craftsmanship. From the shores of Normandy to the mountainous terrain of Italy, from the hedgerows of France to the forests of the Ardennes, the bazooka provided American soldiers with the essential tool to confront German armor. That unassuming tube, born from scrap metal and coat hanger wire, played a pivotal role in authoring the final chapter of the Third Reich, one rocket at a time.